In today's video, we install a Type S Pro Series LED lighting kit on the underside of my Nissan 350Z, get the car all washed up, and take it out for a nighttime photo shoot to properly show off the new Underglow kit. What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Like I said, we're gonna be installing this Pro Series LED lighting kit on the 350Z, and this was kind of a last minute decision. I saw that LZ MFG posted up these kits and said they had them for sale. I hit up James and I was like, hey dude, could you get me one here by this weekend if I ordered it? Because I was kind of running out of projects to do while I was waiting on parts and dealing with customer service on that auto body dolly cart that's holding up the 240 build, and on and on. So I just wanted a fun project to do this weekend. So we got this LED lighting kit for the 350Z. I've got the car up on the lift, so I was taking a look at where we can run the battery power up through here. So I always loved where they put the battery on the 350Z. I just think it's nice that it's super hidden there. If we take off the inner fender well, we can actually run the wire for this kit up through here. It'll be completely hidden. This cover goes back on there and it'll be beautiful. You never see it. But I'm gonna go ahead and get the car all the way up in the air and then lay the kit out below, and we'll start looking at how we're gonna attack this install. Okay, so I started laying everything out here, and first of all, I'm super impressed with how comprehensive this kit is, and although it's a little bit expensive, it's worth every penny because of it. So we've got our side strips here, and they run up to one hub here, so we'll have to figure out where to mount this somewhere in the center of the car, and then this runs up to the battery to power it. And then in the front and rear, we have a 24-inch strip for both of those. They each run to their own single controller, and then it runs up to the battery. So I think where we're gonna mount these is right along here. It's the most flat surface with nothing that we have to mount to or anything like that I think it makes the most sense. So we'll put those there on the side. And then over here, we'll use the bottom of the core support here. I think this is the perfect surface to adhesive to, and then put a couple screws for the mounting brackets in. And speaking of mounting brackets, like I was saying, this kit came with everything. So we've got an alcohol prep pad to wipe down the surface we're mating to, adhesion promoter, zip ties, adhesive for the smart hubs, and then these are the little mounting brackets. It's like a rubber bracket with a small self-tapper screw. So I think our first order of business is just getting the strips mounted up to the car. I've got this up here with the 3M tape. As you saw, we use the adhesion promoter, and they provide these little rubber brackets as well. I'm gonna try to use as few of these as possible just because I don't want to, screw into the car more than I have to. I'm not too worried about this. This is a plastic core support, and worst case, if I was bugged by it, you can replace it later. I'm gonna put one on the other side as well, and then probably one right in the middle. So between the three of them and the 3M tape, that should be on there totally sufficiently. And then looking up at the wire here, we're gonna get this ran up here with this OEM wire and run it up into the headlight wiring back to the batteries. So we got the front ready to go. I'm gonna leave the wiring until the last point so that we can figure out where it all is gonna come together. So next up, we're gonna work on these side ones here. And like I said, we're gonna be putting those on this further out point of the body. So we just need to get these cleaned up, use the adhesion promoter, and get that strip attached on here. So I'm gonna go ahead and do both sides, get the rear on, and then we'll start looking at where to mount these hubs. Okay, so I've got both of the side ones on. They're just on with adhesive right now, and it feels like it's on there pretty solid. I'm gonna ask and see if they've run them without the mounting tabs before, because if I could avoid drilling into the car, I'd prefer that. So for now, we're gonna leave them like that, but like I said, those things are on there super solid. So the wiring is hanging out the front. We'll figure out where to join those up to the hubs and then onto the rear. So we're gonna mount it to this heat shield here. And I figured just to clean it up and get it mounted, the easiest thing to do is just take it off the car because there's only 4 bolts. So it's gonna go probably somewhere along here, I'm thinking. We'll get this thing cleaned up, get the light strip attached to it, and then remount it in the car up there. All right, so we've got all of the strips mounted to the car and the wires are just hanging. So we gotta figure out where to run these guys. I think the first step to do this is get this inner wheel well out up here, because I'm gonna try to run a lot of the wiring back up here behind this fender liner, since we've got one wire coming from there. So I'm gonna go ahead and start working on that, and I'll let you guys know what I decide once I get this off and the wheel off as well. Okay, we have taken a ton of stuff apart and made what I would say is a lot of progress, but may not look like it on camera. So what I've done is run the connection from the LED strip on the passenger side as well as the driver's side up through the fender and coming up into this compartment here for the battery and that compartment over there, which is where the brake master cylinder is. And now what I'm thinking is the best plan to get those two side strips to join is have this little hub sit up here. It'll be underneath the windshield cowl, sealed from the elements, and then I can hide all the wiring from this side over here. Now my biggest concern is what runs through here. We obviously have the wiper motor as well as what appears to be some AC lines. I'm not too worried about the AC lines because those are not going to get hot, but I do want to make sure the wire is away from those as far as possible. And then over there, we got to be cautious of the brake lines. But I think that this is the best way to do it because underneath the car, there is just the transmission, engine, moving suspension components. And I just think this is probably the best way to have the wires out of the way. So I'm gonna get all of this stuff wired up in here and get the two sidebars done. Then we'll work on getting the front up and connected through here and take a look at the back. I know there's an extension that runs from the back to the front, and I think I have an idea of how I want to do that to run it up just with all these same wires here. So everything's coming into the same point, super hidden, and you won't look at any of these hub controllers under the car. So what I've got is I've got the wire for the front light coming up this main harness, which you can follow up from all the way on the bottom of the car, which I really like. The wire is tucked into this seal coming into the battery compartment, which is super clean. And then the connector right there will be zip tied to this main harness. And that just leaves the rear hub. But if the extension is long enough, what I'd like to do is just have all three of the hubs in this area here so they're in the same place, out of the elements. So this is where we're gonna leave off. We'll get all the wiring done in a couple days here and take this car out and show you guys what the whole kit looks like. Okay, so we've got all the lighting strips up here mounted. Like I showed you guys last time, the front and rear, I used these brackets here that came with it. It's a little rubber mounting bracket and screwed it in because this and the piece in the rear are both removable, whereas these are running up the side of the car. So this is actually on the chassis here, and I talked to Adam. He says he runs most of his with just the adhesive on there, and I prepped this surface super well, and it feels like it's really bonded on there. So to avoid drilling any holes in the chassis, I'm gonna leave this as is. What we do need to do is get this wire run for the rear, and we gotta get up the front. So my plan here is use these holes for the factory side skirts because I don't imagine this car will ever have factory side skirts on it. And I've got these little wire clips here. They're gonna hold the wire. So we'll run this wire up here along the lighting strip, and then we've got all the wiring coming to one central location right up here on the passenger side that we can run everything up into the battery compartment. And once we're done with this, the only wiring that you'll see is along the side there. Everything else will be totally hidden. All right, the wiring's all ran next to the light strip there and it looks super clean. So these things are loose enough that we can move the wire forward and backwards, and then I will just kind of set the tension with zip ties in the front and rear of the car. The only thing I would do differently is that I'd probably put this strip a little bit further over towards the outside because these bolts are getting really close to the light strip there. I've left a little bit of space just to not smash the light strip as we tighten it down, but not a big deal at all. But I'm gonna go ahead and start getting this organized up here. We need to do a bit of cleaning before we do anything. There's quite a bit of pollen and dust in there, and anytime I have an opportunity to clean something that's not usually accessible, you gotta clean it. now that I got the car out of the test mode, I went ahead and cleaned up all the rest of the wiring, got our little modules permanently attached in place, and all the wiring tucked in here as neatly as possible. Our positive leads running up to the battery here, and our negative leads over here all zip tied together, super tidy. So I think this looks really, really good. We do have to put back quite a bit of stuff though, because there's a cover that goes over this side and this side, as well as the cowl piece that I took off. And we also have fender liners on both sides. So I took off quite a bit of stuff to get this kit to fit on the car, but you can hardly see any of the wires, so I think it was definitely worth it. All right, so I got all the wiring buttoned up under the hood and turned the lights on and got it connected to my phone. So you control everything through this app here, and it's super easy to use, very cool. You can go in here and like change color, turn it like magenta, you can turn it blue, green, yellow, like, how cool. It's so rad. I'm so excited about this. Oh, it just looks so good, and I love how solid the coverage is of the color. Got the front one on up here. Ooh, looks so good. 240 is a little bit close, but you get the idea. It just looks so good. This is so rad. I cannot wait to go out and do a photo and video shoot with this after we get this car all washed up. On Saturday, it's Thursday right now, so on Saturday we're gonna pull this car outside, wash it, and then that night we're gonna take it out for a photo shoot and do a full shoot with the new Underglow kit. I'm so excited to get out there and film, take some photos again. I feel like adding the nighttime element and the neon should be super fun and challenging, because I've never done something like that before. So I'll see you guys this weekend. For you guys, it'll be just a second. See you then.